the trip to Oyo-Ile felt like a long haul, but Aderoju enjoyed every bit of it. He traveled alongside other recruits. Some were farmers, others were hunters or blacksmiths, each drawn to serve the Alaafin. He soaked in their stories, picked up on their ways, and before long, he knew all the royal house banners and could shout out the battle cries of 5 cavalry squadrons. By the time they reached the gleaming walls of Oyo-Ile, Oyo-Ile was way bigger than he had pictured. Massive stone walls, lively markets, and bronze statues of former Alaafins looking down like silent protectors. He couldn't help but admire the spacious courtyards of the military barracks, where young men were training under the watchful eyes of seasoned captains. Aderoju was put in the 2nd Regiment of the Oyo-Ile, led by Balogun Adelu, a tough warrior marked by scars from battles long past. Training was intense, men fell, bones broke. Yet Aderoju stood tall. He learned to ride without reins, handle a spear with finesse, and fight with honor. But it wasn't just his physical skills that helped him advance, it was his intellect. He memorized battle strategies, studied the land, and earned a reputation for always speaking the truth, no matter how harsh it was. His fellow soldiers nicknamed him Aderoju the Straight Staff. One night, after a successful mock battle in the Oyo forest, Balogun Adelu called for him. "You've got the eye of a commander," the old soldier remarked, "and the heart of a true son of Oyo. But watch out, loyalty can turn you into a target. This city smiles outwardly but stabs in the shadows." Aderoju bowed deeply. "I will be your eyes in the dark, my lord." That pledge would become the shield that protected many and the weight that would eventually bring him down. Before long, he was promoted and given the duty of training new recruits. It was in the garden next to the barracks that he first laid eyes on Omotola, the daughter of Bashorun Alado, a high-ranking official of the Oyo Mesi. She was there bringing herbal remedies for wounded soldiers. Her voice chimed like bells, and her determination and wit captivated him. Winning her love wouldn't be a walk in the park, though. Her father held a deep disdain for warriors of lower status, especially ones who dared to look at his daughter. But Aderoju didn't back down. He penned her poems, sent her carved keepsakes, stood up for her in the markets when rowdy guards harassed her. Omotola, initially amused, grew more curious, then fond, and eventually fiercely loyal. When their relationship was found out, the Bashorun demanded he be dismissed. "Let the dog return to the farm," he shouted in the Alaafin's court. But the Alaafin Aragon was no fool. "Aderoju is no dog," he replied calmly. "He's the lion guarding our gates. If he marries your daughter, your house will be closer to the throne." And so, despite the opposition and whispers, Aderoju and Omotola got married. Their union was more than just love, it was a partnership built on loyalty and forged in fire. Yet even as happiness flourished, shadows began to lengthen over Oyo-Ile. A Fonja of Ilorin was conspiring with Fulani emissaries. Unrest simmered among the provincial leaders. Tributes from Dahomey were dwindling, and Aderoju, always vigilant, started to suspect that the empire he served was not just under attack from the outside. It was rotting from within. The Alaafin, Oba Adegoruy, presided over the majestic palace of Oyo-Ile. His court pulsed with vibrancy, authority, and a deep connection to tradition. Surrounding him were the Oyo Mesi, the 7 kingmakers of the empire, who were sworn not only to advise him but also to challenge him when necessary. Though Aderoju was an emerging warrior, he still felt like an outsider in this revered group. Yet his courageous acts had earned him fame, and whispers among the elders spoke of the goat herder who carries himself like a prince. At court, Aderoju encountered many gazes, some filled with admiration, while others were tinged with jealousy. The most envious of all was Bashorun Fonja, a clever and charming man serving as the prime minister. Afonja had long aspired to something beyond mere influence. He wanted the throne, but as a member of the Oyo Mesi, he couldn't simply take power. That would only change if the people supported him, or if the Alaafin fell from grace. Afonja kept a close watch on Aderoju. "You're quite loyal," he once remarked, a smile on his face that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Oyo needs more men like you." "Thank you, Bashorun," Aderoju replied, bowing slightly. "I pledge my service only to the Alaafin and our ancestral gods." Later that evening, Afonja called upon his trusted aide, Izan, a schemer with a dark heart. "Keep a close watch on that boy. If he starts to soar too high, we might have to clip his wings." Meanwhile, Aderoju began to pick up on some peculiarities. Weapons disappearing from the armory, misleading reports coming from the provinces, and whispers of bribery in court appointments. he discreetly reported his findings to Commander Akanyel, a seasoned warrior who remained loyal to the throne. Something is festering within this palace, Aderoju warned. Commander Akanyel nodded grimly in response. And the maggots wear elegant robes. Amid all the political intrigue, Aderoju met Adisua, the daughter of the late Baal of Igbomina and a fierce herbalist trained in ancient traditions. Their connection flourished immediately, even though her hand was promised to a noble from Oyo-Ile. Your bloodline doesn't meet the noble standards. Her uncle cautioned Aderoju, she will never be yours. Yet love, much like loyalty, doesn't adhere to titles. They found ways to meet in secrecy, and Adesua became both his confidant and his passion. As Aderoju climbed the ranks, he uncovered a conspiracy. Afonja was in talks with Dahomey mercenaries to raid border towns, igniting chaos that would ultimately embarrass the Alaafin. Aderoju, however, disrupted the planned attack and exposed key conspirators. But Afonja was not vanquished, only wounded. Bashorun Afonja became colder, quieter, and more dangerous, and Aderoju began to realize the most difficult truth of all. The real threat wasn't the enemy outside the palace walls, but rather the one who stood next to the throne.